Hello, good people. I want to discuss how I have lost weight and kept it off with Katrina Ubell's Weight Loss for Busy Physicians, Losing Weight for the Last Time. Now, again, I am not a physician. I am a vegan suburban mom who's just out here trying to find something that will last and sustain, something that I can live with. And so far, the results show I can do this. So I want to, again, talk a little bit more about the book. So again, here is the book, Weight Loss for Busy Physicians. Weight Loss for Busy Physicians. And so far, it's been a game changer. And there are a lot of things about the book that are easy to follow, easy to understand. The book is very straightforward. The book does talk about physical hunger, mental hunger, and then it does go into, mental adjustments that need to be made, self-reflection and journaling, and how that can help you keep the weight off. So sometimes we get into, okay, it's about willpower and, oh, I have enough willpower, let me start. And when you aren't able to succeed, you're like, I don't have any willpower, I'll never be able to do this, and how you self-sabotage. She gets into details like that, and in truly introspective. I admittedly have done some of that work and have tapped in a bit enough to know what I'm doing, like that I tend to be an emotional eater, but the way she describes emotional eating and how it could apply probably applies to a lot of us. I eat to procrastinate, especially at work, especially when I'm dealing with like a big project or a big audit, etc. I'm definitely wanting to get up and go grab a snack, even though I'm not hungry. I am just trying to procrastinate because I have a big task ahead of me. It's not that I'm scared. It's, again, more work to be done on that part of it. But the work, even for addressing and understanding the type of food you eat and how that impacts how you may feel and, your metabolism and what's really happening as you get older and what's really not happening as you get older, which I think, if you've been watching the news recently, they kind of talk about some of those things. So I want to discuss a few of the keynotes from the book. Again, I encourage everyone to go read the book, check your local library, check wherever books are sold, Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, etc. But I do want to talk about a little things I've learned. She talks about the hunger scale, and she defines what it's like and what it really means to be hungry. And that allowed me to get perspective into what I was feeling when it was time to eat, and what I was feeling when I was done eating. And how it's probably really not so much about portions, but where are you in the hunger scale? And then more importantly, where's your hunger coming from? Because as we know, sometimes you get signals for hunger that are really for thirst. And so for me, that's a big deal. I need to drink more water. I need to be more diligent. I actually pretty much only drink water 95% of the time, unless I'm on vacation or a special event or something like that. I'm only drinking water. Even still, been like that for years. I don't drink enough. So working on it, right? Working on it. She talks about a protocol, and, sometimes I was, explaining this to my husband, and, unfortunately the word protocol kind of still seems like the word diet, and it's neither of those. It really is just saying, how are you going to set your life up going forward for pretty much the rest of your life, at least a majority of what you're going to do for the rest of your life, that will sustain you, that will get you the results you want. And if you are unwilling to make, decisions that, would expedite your weight loss, that's fine, right? That's your life because it's your protocol, right? You can do whatever you want. For example, rice, white rice, brown rice, jasmine rice, rice. Generally speaking, definitely probably should avoid white rice, but cultural reasons, that may be a main staple in your culture. Therefore, it's, that's something that you want to include in your protocol. Does that mean you may And again, I say may not lose weight as fast as you want. Maybe, right? It really all depends. It's individualized, right? You could lose the weight, fast because maybe you're going from an omnivore diet of drive-throughs, French fries, and hamburgers to vegan. Oh, okay. Maybe a little white rice isn't going to change much, at least not initially. And so again, since it's your protocol, it's interchangeable. If you find, hey, I'm not losing the weight, and now you're looking back over your protocol like, I included white rice, maybe switch to brown rice. So you know what? Let me just try cutting rice out altogether. See what happens. So there's some key things that she talks about that make up a protocol. And again, I'll just kind of go over a high level what it means for me. I encourage you all to go read the book so you know how to set up your protocol. So for the protocol, quickly, you're going to keep a food journal, and it's very, very simple. Very, very, very simple. It's not tracking on, a popular app, and that's okay. And you should embrace that. And I know I do. So it's a good thing. No sugar, no flour. That one might be a little bit difficult, but I am a firm believer that and only eating at meals are a big reason why I have lost the weight that I have so far and kept it off. Those were key for me. Creating rules for your protocol. Again, making a list of foods that you like and that you want to eat. And she kind of says something in the book like, I'm not going to eat anything that I don't like. And that is both good and bad, right? Like, it's good in the sense like, I'm not going to eat a food that doesn't taste good to me, and that could be a healthy food. And then that also could be what she will later call an exception food. Right, so an exception to my protocol may be a slice of cake at a wedding. I think it's the example she uses in the book, because hey, I want to celebrate, I want to enjoy. I don't want a bunch of questions. I've been on my protocol. Maybe the dinner I have will be on my protocol, but I'm going to make an exception food in this particular occasion, pre-planned, and not have it. Right, and I think that's fine. That's me personally. I think that's okay, right? And then you want to solidify your behaviors around eating. So for me, one thing I learned from Dr. Greger, and then if you want to look at my prior video that kind of talked about what I've done so far and why I haven't seen results, but what I have picked up things from different diets and different fads and different things I've tried over the years. What I did learn from Dr. Greger is taking 20 minutes to eat. So setting a timer, having an undistracted meal that lasts at least 20 minutes. We all know the brain triggers, your stomach doesn't trigger to your brain for about 15 to 20 minutes that you're full. So that plays into Dr. Ubell's hunger scale and how you want to be in tune with your hunger. You don't want to go past that, right? You don't want to go past what you said as, okay, this is the time for me to stop eating. So slowing down your eating, have an undistracted meal, no TV, no cell phone, right? Just taking your time, enjoying your meal, keeps you in tune with your body and your body's signals. That is one I need to focus on going forward. Intermittent fasting, again, like I said in my prior video, go check that out. Not sure how I feel about this at this point in my journey. I do feel like it's something that I naturally do because I've done it for so long, but I'm not a stickler on it. I am more trying to focus on the hunger scale. Then we have plan ahead, which I've always kind of done. I'm a batcher for the most part. For the most part, I'm going to batch my meals, or at least I'm going to know ahead of time what I'm going to make. It makes things so much easier for me. And I'm like that even with cooking my family's meals. So again, like in the previous video, I am a vegan and my husband and kids are not. So, and I am the main preparer of meals. So it's important for me to kind of know ahead of time what I'm going to make, what I'm going to buy, everyone, to keep things easy as I am still a career woman. So it's important to be able to get through that and know what's in my cupboards and know what's in the fridge and know what I'm going to make and know what I'm going to grocery shop for. So include exceptions. Like I said, hey, there are times where I'm purposefully going to go off, and I think, some people call it a cheat meal. You're not cheating on your protocol. And she goes into that into detail. You're not cheating on your protocol. This is your life. You're not going to cheat on your spouse. right? This is your life. This is the commitment you made. This is what you're going to do. And it's not really, again, about willpower in that sense. It's realizing what does this serve me? How is this going to affect the relationship I have with myself? And that's a big part of this book as well. And last but not least, weigh daily. So again, that kind of goes back to Dr. Greger, who talks about weighing twice a day. So research does show that if you weigh yourself twice a day, you lose a little more weight than normal. Some people, from a psychological perspective, that is not healthy, and that's fine. Total disclaimer. Again, these are all just suggestions that you have. You make your protocol. That's the beautiful thing about this. You make your protocol. So I kept this journal. She encouraged you to have a food journal. It's just a regular spiral, one subject notebook. And she encourages you to write down what you plan to eat, then determine what you actually ate and your weight for that day. And then, of course, any notes or feelings that you want to leave. But what you ate is not exact measurements. It's not, you can just say a burger. That's it. You might want to be a little bit more specific and say turkey burger, or you might be wanting to say 1/2 of a turkey burger. All of those are fine. But you don't get into the one burger, 500 calories, this many grams, or this much fat, or this. No, you're not getting into the details of how your meals were composed, just simply what you ate. And it does provide a timeline for you. So I weigh myself daily. I only weigh myself once. It's in the morning. It's always after my BM. I'm pretty regular as a vegan, and that's one thing I appreciate about being a vegan. I'm pretty regular. So in the morning, full transparency, have a BM, shed my clothes, get on the scale, get in the shower. Pretty straightforward. So you probably won't see me actually record myself, because you just see my feet at that point, weighing myself. I might take measurements because I think that's something I want to include this time. But I write it down and I leave it be. The scale I have also provides muscle mass, provides water mass, and it provides bone density. So I have those up. There was an option on my scale to show the change from the last weigh-in, and I recently turned that off. Only because the goal is to take in what the scale says, process it, and then let it go. By processing it, right, that could mean, oh, I'm up a little bit, but I had my exception meal yesterday. That makes sense. Or what I had last night for dinner was a little bit more salty than it should have been. Maybe that's it. Or, for women, you might be tracking a cycle. Okay, my cycle just started. Or ended, or whatever the case is, right? Like there's reasons for it, and you can jot those down, but those things you should, again, quickly process and then move on. And I know that's hard for some people to do, especially when you don't see changes in the scale. And I think for me, I can quickly, just looking at it, like this morning I weighed in and I was up a little bit from the day before, just from my just from my memory. I knew I was up a little bit from the day before. I knew, number one, that I had my exception meal last night. So that's always going to drive it. Almost 100%. I'm going to see it go up after my exception meal. Should probably go back down the next day, provided I stay on my protocol. So that's a consideration as well. I also could quickly then see that my muscle mass went up. So I'm like, okay, my muscle mass went up. Then that's why the number on the scale went up. It's not necessarily a bad thing. You want more muscle. So, it kind of keeps me in check. So if you don't have that option, that's fine. But if you do have those options, consider turning them on and just seeing. And maybe that might help you mentally process what the scale says and move on. So I'm just going to show a little bit of what I ate. I really just kind of want you to see, like, I put the date, and during this time I was trying to include intermittent fasting. So I would put my window, and then, like, you can see, like, some check marks, like, yeah, I ate those things, and then some things were crossed out, like, oh no, I didn't get to that, and then I kind of wrote over it. there are times where I write why, like I simply didn't make it, like I was supposed to, or it was going to take too long to make. So I found myself being able to now look back and kind of go over that. Like, okay, well, maybe that meal isn't quite right for me, or at least not on that day. Or, if you don't prep it on the weekend, don't add it on to your protocol, something like that. There's times where I know there was one time where my husband brought me a Slurpee from 7-Eleven and I didn't have the heart to not eat it. That's a whole nother thing. But I just added it in, like, okay, now that just updates my exception meal, and I didn't consume it all, and it was a kid size, and I didn't consume it all, and I realized, like halfway through, like, I'm gonna eat half and then give it to my kid, which my kid doesn't mind eating after me, so mind your business. Especially for a Slurpee, that kid will do. Again, mind your business. So I just saved it for him. So I wrote that in here, like, yep, 1/2 of a Slurpee, hubby brought for me. So, yeah, sometimes those things, life happens, and thankfully it didn't affect me. It kind of moved on. I was tracking my cycle on here as well, just so I can get an indication of what else may have or may not have been contributing to what I was going through. So that was that little notes to myself. But I'm going to, moving forward, switch to this journal. So someone gifted me this journal. It's a smaller spiral. It just has lined paper in it. I actually don't like pink, which is probably why I would use it. But it was gifted to me, and I think this will serve me better in terms of being able to jot down more of my thoughts around eating, what I'm finding to be particularly difficult, and maybe doing a bit of a deeper dive. I've started to make my way back to this protocol now that I'm kind of in the clear, medically speaking, and I found that it was hard to cut sugar. So even though I wasn't necessarily going out of my way to buy sugar, and I didn't load up on a bunch of snacks and all that other stuff, right? Like, I ate what was on the ship and left what was on the ship, right? I didn't then come home and buy a lot of junk. But, there was a couple things like candy canes. Like, oh, we found a box of candy canes while we were undecorating for Christmas and for Kwanzaa. So, okay, I had a candy cane. I wouldn't normally have a candy cane. It's mint. It's still sugar. She talks about those. Definitely read about that. But I didn't need it. And I felt like I didn't go out of my way to buy it either. But now kind of withdrawing. Now kind of going back to no sugar, no flour. Flour part seems to be fine. The sugar part was a little hard. Like, I found myself the other evening knowing where I was on the hunger scale and that I was full, and sitting there now wanting that nighttime snack or that nighttime sweet thing, not even snack, that little hint of sweetness. And I'm like, I'm sure there's some candy in this house somewhere, right? I have a teenager and a preteen. I know there's candy in this house. I know there is. No, I kind of just, thankfully, my husband and I were kind of deep into this new project we're working on. So that kind of distracted me, but I seriously wanted to get up. And I knew I wasn't hungry and I wasn't thirsty. I just seriously wanted to get up and get something sweet. So, I kind of had to process that. Like, it's okay to let that go. I recognize that I'm back at the number I was when I stopped, which was literally the day before surgery. But to me, I can't let that play into what I continue to do. I can't let that be the reason why I no longer hold myself accountable, right? Like, I want this, and it is a disservice to myself to not abide by my own word and my own commitment. And again, that's not willpower per se. That's simply keeping your word. If you would keep your word to your friend that you're going to meet for coffee at 4:00, what would you do to make sure that happened? And it's the same. I committed to myself that I wasn't going to eat sugar. So what will happen if I do eat sugar? What does that say? What am I telling myself about that? And I think I need a journal to process that a little bit more, and get to the root of things, which I think, again, I've started that journey. I want to continue that journey. But ultimately, I'm just excited to continue to use any and all tools that will help me lose the rest of this weight, which again, I have about 20-ish pounds. Ideal goal weight is 20-ish pounds. I do want to note that your protocol can change when you move into maintaining your weight loss. Things look a little different. You would, of course, adjust your protocol. So I don't want it to make it seem like what you literally commit to today, word for word, has to be the end all for the rest of your life. Things will adjust. And maybe even as you lose weight, you might plateau. I know I did. I kind of had to readjust some things and kind of look over my protocol and then get real with myself. Was I really following my protocol? Was I really writing everything down? And then now I realize, was I really processing every emotion? Was I holding on to something? That's the second part that I want to get to. So once you kind of get to your ideal weight, then you can kind of make adjustments to maintain. But as I said, it was very clear and very obvious while I'd been off of this for about a month that this was just this was truly a lifestyle change. Like, people say that, but like, no, this was really like, was effortless. Like, if I could have, I would have. And that's the thing. I look back on what I did eat or didn't eat and realized that I was still doing the same things. There were some exceptions at certain points that were more than what should have been if I was actually focused on my protocol. But I was just so surprised and so relieved. And now, again, my goal is just to share it with everyone. So I hope you found this and the other videos to be helpful. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section. Comment if you like this, if you want to see something else. Be more than happy to and go over all that with you all at some other time. So yeah, like, subscribe, and come back for more. Take care.